that prompt word. Now, before we get started, I'm going to ask you not to think. Don't think, just write. Okay? The first part of this is going to be incorporating one of three possible aspects of story writing. There are probably others, but the three that we're focusing on today are dialogue, character development, and plot, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to just write. We're not going to worry about editing anything. We're just going to let our minds open up to whatever possibilities we have. And the big thing is, let your mind open to the next sentence while you're writing the current one. Don't worry. Once you started writing that current one, let it come out of your consciousness. Let it flow out so that the next thing can come. And then, remember to have one character, at least, doing something, having to do with our prompt word, maybe or maybe not. It's up to you. Remember to think about beginning, middle, and end. Even though you only have a minute, you still have to have a beginning, you still have to have a middle, and you still have to have some kind of punctuation point. And if that means all you write is, if the prompt word, for example, was chair, you might just write, oh, he took my chair, exclamation point, done. If that's all you write, that's all you write, no problem. Let yourself get open to the idea of whatever a prompt word's going to be, and it's not chair, and write about it. And then the last thing is, remember to include the word. So, don't edit a thing, don't worry about it. One of my favorite quotes from the song, The Gambler, you never count your money when you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. I have penned the dealing's done, but you get my point. So when the dealing's done, once you're finished, you can edit. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about what you could have written or what you might have written. Just write. Okay? I'm going to give you the prompt word, and I'm going to start the timer. And then I'm going to ask you to just write. Questions?
Just a technical question. How do you use the timer as you're using Pages?
Oh, you can time it, and it'll time in the background.
Oh, but you have to hit it, then quickly go to Pages.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe give yourself a minute and a couple seconds.
Yeah. That'll absolutely work. I love Pages, by the way. That's what I use too. All right, ready? Our word is copper. And we've started. And that was our timer.
Really?
That was it. I know. It felt like it was only about 10 seconds, didn't it? All righty. Anybody have a beginning? Something you started? Anybody have an ending? You had a beginning. Hey, beginning is great. Perfect. Among the three of you, you're good to go. No. Did anybody find it hard to go, copper? What does she mean, copper? Is it copper like a police officer? Is it copper like the metal? Anybody get into their head that way?
Yeah, and I decided on the police officer, even though my wife is an artist who works with copper.
Sure. Yeah.
But we watch a lot of the British mysteries, and they always call it
And they
copper.
always call them kappa.
I
Yeah.
thought he had always wanted to be a copper.
There you go.
But after years on the force, he had become jaded and wanted out. ... I had on his terms.
There you go.
And that's as far as I got.
That's a great story right there. There's, at the very least, a very good beginning. Anybody else want to share what they wrote?
I think at least half the minute is informing any idea.
Absolutely. And the thing about doing this quickly is that first we have the paralysis by analysis. We start going, what does it mean? What do I want to say? How would I possibly start? And the more you do it, the more you build the skill of just going, I'm just going to start writing something. And that, I'm just gonna start writing something is what allows that creative spark to go. And before you know it, you're going, holy crap, I'm writing. Wow, that's great. It starts slowly though. You gotta give yourself a little bit of time to get used to it. This is just the beginning. This is just a way of starting to plan and think about how you're gonna do it. Questions?
Well, like you set the bar high. Your little, your story about the barber was so clever, you know.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to have a beginning, middle, and end, and it's like, well, I had 1,000 ideas for the beginning of Copper, but then it's like, oh, but what's my punchline? You know, what's my punchline going to be?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I didn't have one.
You have to remember though, Barber in my 60-second story challenge came at month 7.
Oh,
It wasn't the beginning. I started in June of 2010. I've ended in June of 2011. Copper was somewhere around February, so I've been doing it a while. I mean, Barber. So by the time I got to a close shave, I'd been doing it for a good long while. And again, the more you practice it, the faster you get and the easier it becomes to access that creative spark so that you're out there doing it. I don't expect you all to go, I have a Pulitzer Prize winning Copper story right here immediately. Absolutely not. Why would we? This is the first time a lot of us have done it. So the point here is not to have it perfect. The point here is to start that process rolling in your mind, that idea of letting go of all the preconceived notions about what I could, should, or might write as far as what's appropriate. Don't worry about what's appropriate. Write about what feels like it comes up, like it bubbles up. Making connections to Copper. For you, it was British television. For somebody else, it might be metal. It could be any number of things. I deliberately chose something that could have multiple meanings.
Maybe it was the color.
Could be a color. Doesn't matter. It's how you take it. That's the whole
and if you
point.
got stuck, I guess, could you just free associate
Absolutely.
and don't worry about just write?
Yeah. That's the whole point. That's why don't edit. Just write.
Okay, why do you want a beginning, a middle, and an end when basically in 1 minute you're trying to get the essence of what you're trying to say, which may have nothing to do with beginning and end? You want to get something related to that.
Again, this is the exercise that we're doing right now. If
Oh,
you
okay.
decide that you want to do something different, you are absolutely welcome to. The reason I wanted to have, for me, for my project, a beginning, a middle, and an end is that I wanted to have something that could go further if I wanted it to, but didn't have to, because it was complete in and of itself. A close shave, the barber story, there were a lot of possibilities about what could happen next. You know, when I came up with, how did you enjoy your complimentary tea? Immediately I went, ooh, right, there's more to this story. It reminded me of, anybody ever see the play or the movie Sleuth? They were gonna do a remake, which, why would they? So Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine, highly recommend, if you like noir or really cool sort of quiet intellectual thrillers, I highly recommend you check that movie out. It's fantastic. And it does that. It does that where you think it's going to go, and then it takes it on its head and makes it even more clever than you thought possible. So I highly, highly recommend it for that kind of really twisted, clever plotting. Okay, so now, oop, it went away. We're going to do another one. Okay, Allie, I think you should have a picture description on yours. Yeah, oh, absolutely. In other words, you want me to move out of the way so you can see the picture?
That would be it.
That's it. Okay. So there's a picture. We're going to do another 1 minute. Take a look at it. See if you can make any connections. Allie, you should have yours described there, do you? Good. So, taking a look at that picture, I'm going to do another minute on the timer. And go. that's our minute. All right. How did everybody do this time? Was it easier? More challenging?
I connected it to the first.
Oh, nice. You continued your story. Very nice.
Yeah, I was very literal, but I found that, you know, when you have the people there and they're doing an action, you can always say the girl is petting the dog, and you have
a starting point.
You have a starting point.
Absolutely. It's easier in some ways than copper
Yeah,
because you have something to hang your hat on.
right.
Okay. What did anything about the picture make you curious? Did you want to know anything about it?
What the girl was looking at.
I know. I want to know what she's looking at. I took the picture. That's my dog being loved by all those little kids on the playground at the end of my street. And Erin is the daughter of friends of mine, the girl looking up. And I actually don't know what she was looking at, but
I was looking at a hawk. It says so right in my story.
There you go. That was beautiful, John. Absolutely. That idea of there's something in here that's a mystery that we want to find out about, there's a starting point. What's going on with the kids petting the dog? Is the dog okay? Does the dog look happy? Are they happy? Is everybody good?
Yes.
There we go. Another way of hanging our hat. Using images. And that goes back to the idea of vision boards, by the way. If you have a vision board for your characters and you get stuck, you can go to that vision board and you can go, what could be happening? On the island of Icaria, they're one of the main spaces of plot points in my book is an old